Now, King Charles has stripped his younger brother, Andrew, of the title Prince, with Buckingham Palace also announcing he will, with immediate effect, be known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor.
Joining us now is the Trade Minister, Sir Chris Bryant. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
I know that a long time ago you were calling Andrew a national embarrassment because of his work, in quotation marks, with the Trade Department. Did you see this coming then, or do you think that now there is still further to go with the scandals surrounding Andrew?
Well, I think this has been coming a long time, and I warmly commend the King on what he's announced today, and in particular the swiftness with which everything is now going to proceed, as I understand it. We, the government, support what the Palace is doing. In large measure, obviously, it's a decision for the King himself personally, and that can't have been easy. But my hearts, and I'm sure everybody in the country's hearts, go out to the victims of Jeffrey Epstein's appalling behaviour. It was always despicable, and I think everybody will be glad that this moment has taken today. And he's just Andrew now. He's an ordinary member of the public.
Virginia Giuffre's brother has spoken to the programme here today and said that he would like to see Andrew in a courtroom of some description. Do you believe that there is any political pressure that can be put, or should there be put, upon the royal household in order to convince Andrew that now is the time to do the right thing and to let the public know what he really knows?
I would have thought that Andrew would want to, be as open as he possibly can with the public. I think that would just be a matter of common decency towards all the victims of Jeffrey Epstein's appalling behaviour. It's not for government to decide whether somebody goes into court or whatever. That's a matter for prosecuting authorities, and I know that the police are investigating some of the issues. That they're independent of government, and quite rightly so. I understand also that there may be requests for Andrew to appear before an investigation in the United States of America. I'm sure that Andrew would and should comply with any request that was made with regard to that. The honest truth is, it's not just Virginia Giuffre and her family who and all those who loved her who will want to see justice. It's all the victims of Jeffrey Epstein's appalling behaviour that will want to see that justice. So
just to clarify there, Mr. Bryant, you are saying then, because there are calls for Andrew to be part of an inquiry, particularly in the US, and we know there are some calls here as well. So you're saying he should be part of that inquiry?
If there's a specific request for Andrew to take part in an inquiry in the US Senate or House of Representatives, then yes, of course, I would expect him to fully comply with that request.
Okay.
Shall we talk about the reason you were on the show in the first place, which is, as Minister for Trade, you're talking this morning about giving significant discounts on electricity usage for some of the biggest industries in the country, UK steel, glass manufacturers and so on. But those savings to the tune of around £14.5 million a year won't actually come into place, we're told, until 2027. How is that going today to help very sluggish growth in the UK economy and the cost of living crisis, which is hampered indeed, as you know, by high energy prices for domestic householders?
So I'll come on to domestic in a moment, if that's OK. Let me just start with what we're announcing today, which is £420 million worth of savings for these key industries. We need a strong steel, cement, glass and chemicals industries in the UK. It's really important that they stay in the UK and don't just go off to other countries where there are fewer requirements on them in relation to carbon. And that's why we're increasing from April next year the compensation from 60% to 90% of their energy costs, because they are such intensive users of energy. And this affects something like 400,000 jobs in the UK. I know this very closely for myself. I'm the MP for Rhondda and Ogmore in South Wales, and of course next door to us is Port Talbot. We need a strong steel sector in the UK. We're going to be producing a steel strategy later on this year. We've got some issues that we've got to deal with in relation to tariffs with the United States of America and the EU. But this this is a key thing we can do for industries which are so intensive in their use of energy, to make sure that they can compete and we can protect those 400,000 jobs. I can absolutely guarantee that not a single penny of this £420 million compensation will be added to people's ordinary household bills. We know that household bills are high. We want to do everything we possibly can. That's why recently one of the things we announced was that 6 million more households this year will get the £150 warm homes contribution. £150, as I say, for 6 million more households across the UK. We're also determined that we want to make the UK an energy superpower in future years. We don't want to be relying on gas and oil from other countries. We want to be producing our own energy. That's why renewable energy is so important. And that's how we aim to get by 2030 to the £300 off annual bills for everybody in the UK. Right. So we're focused on both things, but today is specifically about what we can do for these energy intensive industries.
Right. Just one final question on Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor. I mean, it feels in some ways it could be the end of the matter. The independent advisor said there's nothing to see here, there's no blame. But there's some interesting detail, isn't there? I mean, Keir Starmer has said in emails that we've seen and letters saying that she could have gone through her emails a bit quicker and sooner, and it would have helped everything if she'd done that. That's slightly worrying, isn't it? That she's the second most important minister in the country, and she hasn't really been over the detail of something quite important but quite small regarding her own affairs. Yet she is going to be in charge of a budget, and we're going to see the details of that very soon. Has there been a sort of a bit of incompetence from our Chancellor, do you think, Mr. Bryant?
Well, first of all, I should say that Rachel has been very much involved in this decision that we've been making today about protecting 400,000 jobs in the UK. So she's fully on the job as Chancellor of the Exchequer. But secondly, let's just go back. I've always said, including when I was chair of the Committee on Standards and looking into issues around Boris Johnson and so on, that you need a fair process for whenever there are allegations or concerns about what happens, what MPs have been up to. And the fair process here is that there's an independent advisor on ministerial interests, appointed incidentally by Rishi Sunak, by the Conservative Prime Minister, not by us, so not a Labour patsy or anything like that, a thoroughly independent person. He looked at what Rachel said and has looked now at these additional emails that have been found. But let's go back to the very original point. Basically, Rachel became Chancellor of the Exchequer. She moved in, as every other Chancellor of the Exchequer in history has done, moved into Downing Street and then decided to let out her property. She got all the paperwork together, spoke to a lettings agency. The lettings agency themselves said that they were going to get the necessary licence from Southwark Council, and then the lettings agency, they've now apologised because they failed to do that.
All right, Chris Bryant, we are going to have to leave it there, but thank you so much for joining us.
So can I just say...
Yes.
One thing, which is happy birthday to my brother. It's his birthday. Rodri David Bryant, happy birthday on Halloween.
Happy birthday.
Wow, look at that.
How old is he? How old is he today? Are you allowed to say?
Very old, but not as old as me.
Will he be watching Good Morning Britain? I bet you didn't do that on the other channels you did that for, did you? Just on us, knowing that he'll be watching.
This is the only channel I've done it on because Good Morning Britain is so important to my heart.
Oh, well, you've charmed us.
Good man.
A bit of flattery gets you everywhere.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.